Good morning, everyone. This is Luciana Turner of the LT&A group. How are you doing this morning? As you enter the room, please leave your name, a comment, something so I can acknowledge you joining me today. If you're catching this by the replay, hashtag replay, so that I can acknowledge that you stopped by. Now, Morning Tidbit was designed to be 5 minutes of actionable get started information surrounding government contracting and business. Because sometimes you just need to know where to look for the answer. Not necessarily the answer, but just where to look. And that's what Morning Tidbit was designed to do. It was designed to be the where you look. So, this morning, my topic is going to be on the long haul strategy. um, a lot of things I discuss. I discuss from a government contracting audit perspective. I typically speak from what would the auditor say viewpoint. And that just comes from my years of work in compliance. Because at the end of the day, when the auditor shows up at your door, that is when you have to, quote, justify or be able to support the actions that you took. I speak from a perspective of a long range or long haul strategy and documentation of such because, quite frankly, an auditor doesn't show up immediately after the contract ends. An auditor can show up 5 years after the work is done. I don't know about your memory, but if my memory isn't that good, isn't that great? Will you even have the same team members 5 years later? So relying upon, well, this was so and so's project, so they will always be around to justify or explain what is transpiring is quite frankly a high risk proposition. It isn't. So I always come from the perspective of what will the auditor say 5 years from now? And how will you substantiate your position in 5 years? A lot of the strategies and discussion that I give is from the perspective of someone who is looking to make government contracting a long term revenue stream. It's not for the one and dones. It's not for the I see an opportunity that I just want to bid on real quick because I want this quick money. It's not for people who are just quite frankly jumping on the government contracting bandwagon. It's for those who are invested in a long term result. Therefore, they understand the need for a long term strategy. That's what I speak to. That is what this platform is for. On last Wednesday, and I did a follow up on Thursday, I discussed common contracting terminology that you, quite frankly, need to understand if you're going to be entering and working substantially in the government contracting field. This week, I'm following up the conversation and I'm talking about the government contracting acquisition process. And I will speak to that process from the federal standpoint. There's very little difference between state procurement and federal procurement. And there's actually been a trend in state procurement to start following some of the government or federal guidelines or standards, because quite frankly the government just, if somebody's already done the work, the government is like, well, why should I reproduce it? That's the viewpoint, that's the mentality, and there you have it. And on a lot of levels, the federal, to qualify for federal contracting, you're overqualified for state level work. So a lot of states have adopted federal practices. So that's why I chose to do the acquisition process from that standpoint. So join me tomorrow evening for the masterclass on the government acquisition process. As I walk you through that, I always explain strategy into understanding or knowing the process. Because once you understand the process, you can create a strategy that fits your business or fits your um, line of services or how you operate. And it increases success. Um, Understanding those applications just allows for greater flow and greater planning. Because as I say, execution is not enough. It must be strategic execution. And with that, I want to leave you with this note, which is my go to favorite. Be good to yourself. Take time throughout the day to decompress. When you find yourself getting stressed or frustrated, walk away from whatever it is that you're working on, because a stressed mind can't create, it can't process, it can't learn. And if you can't create, then you can't execute. And with that, have a great day. And I will see you on tomorrow morning for another edition of Morning Tidbit. Have a good day.